A couple of years ago, I made several videos on methylene blue. I was first intrigued by what is essentially a synthetic dye when I heard about its potential skin benefits. And I initially interviewed Dr. Kao, an associate professor at the Department of Cell Biology and Molecular Genetics at the University of Maryland. Dr. Kao is one of the world's leading researchers in human anti-aging, and she accidentally discovered that a common dye called methylene blue has potential anti-aging properties for human skin. Many of you loved the interview with Dr. Kao, and many of you, myself included, started using either some of Dr. Kao's skincare products containing methylene blue, or started tinkering around adding methylene blue to your existing skincare products. Then, upon further research, I learned that methylene blue might not just have potential skin benefits, but general health benefits, which got me to interview another authority on methylene blue, Dr. John Laurent. And again, many of you really liked the video. And again, many of you, myself included, after watching it, started playing around with taking methylene blue internally. However, while over the past couple of years, since posting these videos, I occasionally got asked by some of you whether I was still using or taking methylene blue. For the most part, the excitement over the synthetic dye had faded. Until recently, when a video of RFK Jr. putting what appears to be a blue liquid to a drink had the internet buzzing over methylene blue once more. And I actually just saw that Brian Johnson is jumping on the methylene blue wagon as well. So with all the new buzz surrounding methylene blue, so many of you have reached out and asked me, am I still taking or using methylene blue? And if so, how am I doing with it? So in today's video, I will tell you just that. I will tell you whether I still take methylene blue internally, use it externally, and how my experience is or was with both. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I did make a couple of videos in which I interviewed people who are known to be authorities on methylene blue. So I won't go into too much detail about the potential benefits of the synthetic dye. I will link those videos down below in case you're not familiar with methylene blue and you would like to learn a bit more. But just briefly, in a nutshell, let's cover the potential skin benefits as well as general health benefits of methylene blue. Starting with the skin benefits. Now, while the synthetic dye has actually been around since 1876, and while it is now an ingredient used in several skincare brands, Dr. Kao is actually the one who initially discovered, again by accident, through her progeria research, that methylene blue could have exceptional anti-aging benefits for human skin. Upon further research, Dr. Kao discovered that methylene blue can help facilitate collagen and elastin production, improve skin hydration and thickness, and even offer UVA and UVB protection. Dr. Kao later published her findings in peer-reviewed scientific journals. Now, as far as the potential health benefits of methylene blue, it is said to have antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, antifungal, and antimicrobial properties to help enhance cognitive function, improve mitochondrial as well as cardiovascular health. It is currently explored for its potential benefits in treating chronic fatigue syndrome, depression, and pain, as well as to treat urinary tract infections, malaria, and Alzheimer's disease. And lastly, it is used as an FDA-approved treatment for treating a rare blood disorder called methemoglobinemia. Now, before I tell you about my experience using methylene blue externally as well as internally, please remember I am just one person. I'm an N of one. Your experience using methylene blue might be completely different from mine. So I would actually love if you have been using methylene blue internally or externally, if you share your experience with it down below in the comments. And of course, if you are thinking about taking methylene blue, please do your own research and talk to your doctor about it. So let's start with my experience using methylene blue topically. I was super excited after talking to Professor Kao to give Methylene Blue a try, especially since I learned in the interview with Dr. Kao that Dr. Kao's laboratory did a side-by-side comparison of Methylene Blue and vitamin A. And according to Professor Kao, Methylene Blue outperformed vitamin A on all tested aspects.
We actually did a side-by-side comparison of vitamin A and Methylene Blue on human skin fibroblasts. What we have seen is Methylene Blue promoted skin proliferation. Vitamin A didn't. Methylene Blue has a much better way to combat ROS, this reactive oxygen species. So we do see Methylene Blue outperformed vitamin A in all these tested aspects.
Now, if you have been here for a little while, you know that I'm a big fan of topical vitamin A. Personally, I've been using retinoic acid for the past 6 years. And it is one of the few skincare ingredients I have ever seen a visible difference from. So when I heard Professor Kao talking about Methylene Blue outperforming vitamin A on all aspects tested, I was super excited. Dr. Kao was actually kind enough to send me some of her skincare products from her Blueline line. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to use the products Dr. Kao so kindly sent me because they contained essential oils. And my skin can be quite sensitive to certain essential oils. I believe the company has since come out with products void of essential oils, but back then they didn't exist. So since I couldn't use the Blueline products, I eventually purchased some pharmaceutical-grade Methylene Blue and started playing around with adding a bit of it to my already existing skincare products. Of course, Dr. Kao couldn't disclose the percentage of Methylene Blue she uses in her skincare products. So I did a bit of my own research and learned that anywhere from 0.1% to 1% of Methylene Blue in skincare could have potential anti-aging benefits. So after playing around with adding my pharmaceutical-grade Methylene Blue to different lotions I already owned, I found that for me it worked best to add it to a antioxidant mist I was using at the time. And I can't remember the name of the mist right now. It is such a long word. I will put a picture of it right here. I do remember that the bottle contained 250 milliliters because I tried to do the math and get as close to the 0.1 to 1% Methylene Blue solution as possible. So I added a very tiny amount of my pharmaceutical grade Methylene Blue to my mist and then used my concoction twice a day, spritzing my face with it right after washing my face. And I did so for at least 6 months, if not longer. Now, I didn't have any adverse reactions, which is good because, again, my skin can be somewhat reactive or sensitive. But I can't honestly tell you that I saw a difference from using my concoction. Now, there could be several reasons for that. It could be that my calculations were slightly off and I added a bit too little or too much Methylene Blue. I do remember Professor Kao saying in our interview that less is more. So maybe I added a bit too much Methylene Blue to my mist. It could also be that some of the ingredients in the mist aren't compatible with Methylene Blue. And maybe my skin did indeed benefit from using my concoction, from using Methylene Blue topically, and I just couldn't see a visible difference. However, I remember when I started using retinoic acid about 6 years ago, I could actually see a visible difference within the first 3 months. But as I mentioned earlier, retinoic acid is one of a handful of skincare ingredients or skincare products I have actually been able to see a visible difference from. It is quite challenging, at least for me, to see a visible difference from a skincare product or ingredient, especially with the naked eye. And I wouldn't have expected so much from Methylene Blue if it wouldn't have been for Professor Kao's research. But again, there could be many reasons why my concoction containing methylene blue didn't give me the results I was hoping for. I'm obviously not a cosmetic chemist, and it is very likely that my lack of results were due to the concoction I created, not methylene blue lacking in efficacy. So I am very open to giving topical methylene blue another try, but I would love to hear from you first. Have you tried methylene blue in skincare? And if so, which products have you tried? And what was your experience? Have you tinkered around creating your own skincare products containing methylene blue? And please share down below in the comments. Now, as far as my experience with taking methylene blue internally, as I mentioned in the intro, once I learned about the potential health benefits of methylene blue, I got quite excited. And since I already owned some pharmaceutical grade methylene blue, which I was using to make my skincare concoction, I started taking methylene blue internally maybe about a week or so after using it externally. Now, I keep stressing pharmaceutical grade methylene blue because methylene blue is also something that is used to disinfect fish tanks. However, the methylene blue used to disinfect fish tanks is often not as pure as we would like it to be if we're thinking of ingesting it or even using it topically. So it is quite important if we're thinking of ingesting methylene blue or using it topically to, again, first of all, do our own research, talk to our doctor about it, but also use pharmaceutical grade methylene blue. So since I already own some pharmaceutical grade methylene blue and I was eager to get started using it internally, but didn't quite know how much of it to start with, I did a bit of research. And I came across this research right here suggesting that less than 2 milligrams of methylene blue per kilogram of body weight is considered a safe and therapeutic dose, and that greater than 7 milligrams per kilogram could have adverse effects. So according to this research, for somebody like myself, who roughly weighs 60 kilograms, up to or slightly less than 120 milligrams of methylene blue would be considered a safe and therapeutic dose. And I'm usually somebody who thinks if a little is good, more is better. But I remember back then looking at my bottle of pharmaceutical grade methylene blue, and the bottle contained 1 ounce and 1 drop contained 400 micrograms of methylene blue. So I remember looking at my bottle and realizing that if I took 120 milligrams, I would use up the whole bottle in one use. So I decided to start with a bit less and to see how that goes, which is very unlike me. But for some reason, I decided to start with 15 milligrams. I'm not sure how I ended up on that number, because back then, aside from the limited research I came across, there really wasn't much information on how to take methylene blue internally for just general health benefits. But for some reason, I decided to start with 15 milligrams. So one morning I took a glass of water, I calculated how much methylene blue I would have to add to equal 15 milligrams, mixed it up well, and drank it on an empty stomach. And about an hour after, I felt so sick. Now, back then, I wasn't feeling great to begin with. I was struggling with mold illness, and I also had a COVID vaccine injury. So I wasn't feeling great to begin with. But after drinking the methylene blue, I felt as if I was hit by a bus. And it lasted all day long, which of course scared me a bit. But I didn't want to give up on methylene blue because I was so hopeful about its potential health benefits. And I was actually hoping it would help me with my mold illness and the COVID vaccine injury. So the next morning, I gave it another try, thinking that me feeling so sick the day before may have been a coincidence. So once more, I added 15 milligrams of methylene blue to a glass of water, drank it first thing in the morning, and once more, about an hour after, I felt so sick and once more, it lasted all day. So I was just about to give up on consuming Methylene Blue. But again, I had been so hopeful about the potential health benefits of Methylene Blue that I decided instead to completely give up on it, to take a few days off until I felt better, and then to start very, very slowly. Now, I already thought I started slowly using 15 milligrams, but I decided to start using just 1 drop, which again contained 400 micrograms of Methylene Blue. So I added 1 drop of Methylene Blue to a glass of water, drank it, and waited to see how I felt. And I felt fine. So I did that for 10 days. And when I continued to feel fine, I got brave and I added 2 drops of Methylene Blue. I did that for another 10 days, then added 3 drops, and so on. I think when I got to around 5 drops, I started moving a bit quicker and I increased my dose every couple of days. And then eventually I moved even quicker and I worked my way back up to using 15 milligrams. And once I used 15 milligrams of Methylene Blue again, I had no more adverse reactions. Now, when I had my interview with Dr. Laurent, I told him about my experience. And he told me that what I experienced was almost a desired reaction, a detox reaction, also known as a Hexenheimer reaction, which is an acute temporary worsening of symptoms that can occur shortly after treatment because the body is basically overwhelmed with a sudden die-off of fungi or bacteria. I'm not sure if that is indeed what happened to me. Part of me would like to think so because, again, my body was struggling with quite a bit back then, but I'm not sure if that is really what happened. But what I do know is that when I started very slowly and worked my way up, I was fine, eventually using 15 milligrams of Methylene Blue. Now, I did get brave some days and even took 30 milligrams. There were even a few days I took 60 milligrams of Methylene Blue and I had no more adverse reactions. And after talking to Dr. Laurent, I even started using some of his Methylene Blue suppositories. I don't remember now how strong they were, but they were quite strong. And even from those, I didn't have any adverse reactions. So I no longer had adverse reactions when taking Methylene Blue internally, no matter what dose I was playing around with. But I can't necessarily tell you that I noticed much benefit from using Methylene Blue internally. There were some days when I felt it gave me a bit of energy, and then other days I didn't notice anything from taking it, no matter what dose I was taking. Now, it could be that Methylene Blue helped me to get over my COVID vaccine injury and mold illness. It is really hard to say, because I did so many different things to get healthy, but maybe Methylene Blue was part of it. But eventually, because I didn't notice much difference from taking Methylene Blue internally, and I already take so many supplements, eventually after taking it for about 1 year, I stopped taking it. Now, during the year of taking Methylene Blue, I wasn't taking it continuously. I cycled it because I'm not quite sure we know enough about taking Methylene Blue long term, and back then we knew even less about it. So I just wanted to make sure to not overdo it and have too much of it build up in my system. But again, after about a year, I stopped taking it altogether. That being said, with all the new buzz surrounding Methylene Blue, I have once more gotten curious about it, and I just ordered another bottle. I'm in a different place in my life now. I no longer struggle with mold illness or a COVID vaccine injury, so it will be quite interesting to see what happens now when I take Methylene Blue internally. Of course, I will keep you posted. Now, another reason I stopped taking it internally back then was that we lived in Europe at that time, and we traveled quite a bit. And of course, Methylene Blue is a blue liquid that stains everything it comes in contact with. So I was always so nervous to take my Methylene Blue on our travels with me. But again, I'm in a different place in my life now. Not only am I healthy now, but I also don't travel as much. I'm much more stationary. So I will keep you posted. Once I get my bottle and start taking Methylene Blue again, I will keep you posted what happens. Now, of course, there are other ways to take Methylene Blue internally, aside from taking a liquid and risking it staining everything it comes in contact with. There are now Methylene Blue capsules, suppositories. As I mentioned, I actually tried some suppositories back then, and so on. But I found that the liquid form of Methylene Blue is, first of all, the most economical way to take it, and it is also the easiest way to adjust dosing. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful. I would love to know, do you take Methylene Blue internally? And if so, what is your experience with it? Please share down below. Any questions or comments? Of course, please share them down below. Always love to hear from you. And lastly, I know I have said this several times in this video, but I want to stress one more time that if you are thinking of consuming Methylene Blue, please do your own research and please talk to your doctor about it. Methylene Blue is not for everyone, and it can definitely have side effects. And with that said, thank you so much for being here. Until next time, bye.